Today we are here to do some reflecting, to exchange ideas, and to see what we might do in preparation for the next one. Because there will be a next one and another one. And the challenge now is, how do we position ourselves, position our societies? How do we communicate with governments? How do we prepare the people to be able to respond and not to panic? And I think preparation is a key to managing any kind of disaster. Not wishing to tell tales out of school, but there's a member of the audience here this afternoon, Cheryl, who shared, if not a disaster with us, but quite an extraordinary experience of a fire. The hotel next door caught fire. And we were lucky because we were on the outside looking at it. But it was not an experience that we would like to celebrate, because there's something quite horrible there. Something really quite horrible. We didn't see people jumping, but we heard the screams. And fortunately, there were no casualties, because certainly this country tends to do a lot of pre-disaster planning and preparedness, and everyone seemed to have had a role. I am pleased that the UN is now on the lead edge of helping people to understand, comprehend, to measure, and to manage the impacts of disaster. My hope is that there would be much better public education and training and better preparation for coping with disasters when they occur. I think unless we're prepared, it's too late to do your planning in the middle of a disaster, because everything is very confused, everything is moving so very fast. And so the lesson that we've had from the ones that we've lived through is how to create a state of readiness for disaster preparedness and management. And that's really why we're here this afternoon, to exchange ideas, to exchange views, and to see how we can do, what we can do to mitigate, and what we can do to help the children cope. I don't think a disaster has as much impact on anything else as it has on the children, who become absolutely terrified in terms of not knowing what's going on and when it will end. And to have an opportunity to reflect on this and what we need to do. And I'd also like to put the flashlight on the spotlight on the UN and what the UN does both before and after, how it educates, and how it can present an authority figure during the disaster to make sure that we manage it properly. So my hope this afternoon is that you'll see this as an opportunity to begin reflecting anew on things that are inevitable, things that we can't prevent, but things that we can manage. And it is in this spirit that I welcome you to this conference this afternoon. Thank you, and please enjoy your lunch. I had thought we'd do it after lunch because I didn't want to spoil your lunch, but I believe you'll find this really quite gripping. And look at what the response is on the lesson that have been learned. So would you screen the video, please? Thank you.
I would like to say what an honour it is to be here this afternoon to speak to you. I'm here representing our Under-Secretary General, Baroness Valerie Amos, who is the Emergency Relief Coordinator, as well as being the head of OCHA. And as I say, it is our privilege to participate in this event. I commend the organisers. And the second thing that I would like to focus on is how we responded to this enormous tragedy, and what can we understand from the response and take from the response under the framework of the title of this particular event today, which is, of course, cooperating across all sectors and together to mobilise in the most effective and timely way. The first challenge in any disaster response is the management of information. People need to know what are the needs and how they can best respond. And this, of course, is the first test in any system, is getting the information to people who are responsible for making decisions so that the right decisions can be made. As I said, the scale of the response, with over 50,000 volunteers and mobilised at local level, massive quantities of emergency supplies, again overcoming tremendous obstacles in terms of damage done, mobilised very quickly and very effectively. Again, thanks in very large part to a very good and effective communication. It was immediately acknowledged that Japan has been one of the most generous countries in terms of its support and contribution to international response. And it was humbling to be part of a dynamic then should focus on is how we can connect all of this together. This is why our organisation at the UN, the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, was in the first instance established, is that because it's recognised and realised that if you don't join up the endeavour, then you will miss out on the priority interventions, and as a result of that, lives will unnecessarily be lost. And again, that is an unforgivable travesty and tragedy on top of an already dreadful situation. So the whole concept and notion of coordination is a very practical and pragmatic issue, which starts with sharing information, communicating the needs in a way that also identifies priority and the timeline of the necessity of the response in terms of the criticality and the life-saving nature and dimension. And then, of course, being able to also catalogue the impact of that response. And there, again, we can always find ourselves in a situation too often where people who give generously, they wonder what was the impact of that generosity. And again, it's very important that that it is communicated to them exactly how and what has been the impact of that endeavour. For us, then, stepping just up one step from this particular tragedy, I'm also particularly pleased to be here to listen to the other presenters who will be talking about how they engaged and the way there was a mobilisation of a very broad base of support and response, because at a global level we at OCHA are endeavouring to broaden the base of partnership in emergency response. We recognise that the conventional and traditional mobilisation through humanitarian organisations is just one segment, one part of what we actually need to have the most comprehensive and most effective response. And this is where the civil society, the mobilisation of civil society organisations and the private sector is becoming ever more important. The mobilisation of private sector partnerships in our global humanitarian endeavour, because there is a limited funding coming through the convention. This response in this particular crisis is a response from which we have learned a lot in terms of lessons that can be applied elsewhere. And one of the things that we are working very hard on is that mobilisation of a broader base of partnership, which includes not just civil society, but the private sector. Thank you very much.
And I think what you're telling us about OSHA and how the United Nations is dealing with this is extremely encouraging indeed. So thank you very much. I hope we will have taken your word very seriously, and I hope we can improve the systems that are in place now, so when the next disaster happens, we're better prepared to managing, handling, and mobilizing. I find that during disaster periods, the tremendous amount of energy, goodwill, and generosity available. We can't really institutionalize these, but we can find effective ways of harnessing them. And I think what you're telling us this afternoon is that your organization, OCHA, is attempting to do just this. And we're very grateful for your response, sir. We only hope that we can bring you on the road more often, because the disasters will happen. And the key to successful management is what kind of system you have in place before the disaster, and what kind of training and preparation you have developed. And I don't know whether disaster responders ever get together to share information, how to improve, how to make what we're doing that is good better. And my hope is that what you're telling us, I hope you'll be available to sharing this with wider audiences, because we need to be better prepared. We need to have the systems, the institution, and I find, sir, that we need to have, and I don't know how you structure this, more empathy in responding to disasters. I lived through one not long ago, and the big issue was the issue of pets. We are very good at evacuating people. But what do you go to Johnny's dog? Johnny gets along, copes with life because he has a pet. And for most of us who are doing the emergency and evacuation, all the complicated terminology, pets are the last things on our mind. And I would hope that we might think more seriously about to restore this bond between a kid and his pet, and make space in our planning and evacuation. And I would like to call on my friend, Mr. Taka Kanamuri, who is a special representative of the Friends of the United Nations in Asia Pacific, as a matter of fact, the president of FOU in Asia Pacific, to share a few ideas that he has with us. Taka, are you ready?
One of the unique activity or characteristics of that organization, we are a non-governmental organization, which is that I believe that one of the advantages as being that organization like us is we can react very quickly more than that anybody else. Then we have collaborating with that, of course, the private sectors and the professional athlete and the famous musicians as well. Then I'd like to share with some of the information we have done at the disaster area with collaboration work with the private sectors. 次お願いします。Right after the earthquake, we have sent emergency supply, which is drinking water, food, medical masks for more than 100,000 people. So the medical mask was very important at that time. 次お願いします。We also went at the emergency shelter with our medical team of the Friends of UN. Then you want to picture. We have had a medical check with those people who are suffering from that so much stress. Then we brought that, of course, Dr. Hinokida. I'm going to introduce later this ceremony what his activity does also. This is one of the characteristics to working with that very large Japanese company. We have a collaboration work with that company named KNT, Kinki Nippon Tourist. They are one of the leading Japanese tourism company. Then one of the good advantages that because they are size of the company, they have sent us that more than 200 their employees to join our volunteer activity, clean up those area of the disaster area. Then I'd like to introduce some of that one person from the KNT, Mr. Koji Hamada, Vice President of the KNT New York. And without their activity, we cannot make this huge help for those areas for the cleanup. Then this also we have made it a movable shower container to that area, which because that the area did not have any power and any electricity, any water for more than for close to 6 months. Then you can see that the two kids there. This is the first time they took shower in 3 months after the tsunami. And this is you can remove this container to anywhere in the disaster area. Then you can see that this person is very famous in Japan, Mr. Sadaharu Oh. He used to have the home run record of the world. Also, we have in collaboration with the professional football team called the Urawa Reds. They are the most famous and most popular football team in Japan. They had a stadium of capacity of 62,000 people in one game. Every time, almost more than 60,000 people gather at the game. Not only to having those sports events, we also operating schools for the children. One was the baseball school and the football school to those children in disaster area to cheer them up. This is something because especially the kids lost their parents and lost their home. Then not only the adult has been so much distress, but also those children has so much distress in their mind. So we'd like to have the sense of this collaboration, and we try to keep our activity from now on too. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much.
Exposed to radiation at the age of 3 when the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima. And he's a doctor who has professional experiences in 4 areas of nuclear radiation disaster: Hiroshima, Nagasaki, Chernobyl, and Fukushima. Dr. Jin has visited many developing countries to help poverty people, and he has visited the stricken areas more than 380 times.
皆様こんにちは。まず最初にこの度、日本の東日本震災でお亡くなりになった方約1万9000人、また被災された約100万近い皆様に心からお悔やみと哀悼の意を表したいと思います。
A number of deaths and missing people would be 20,000 people. I would like to express my sorrow to them, and so I would like to express my appreciation for the supporting from the world in the world. Especially this time, we had a great opportunity provided by Dr. Noel Brown. Thank you so much. So additionally, our medical activity with mobile karaoke unit had been broadcasted for 3 days on Japanese public broadcasting nationwide, and it was very effective to get people's attention on the damaged areas and people again. So we're going to continue these services as many years as we can. Thank you for coming today, and please remind the victims are still suffering. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As Dr. Jin has mentioned, we have campaigned supporting program to help the victims through music and songs.
I am so glad to have this occasion and also making the film at the United Nations. When the first time I hear that Dr. Brown desired to produce the UN Secretary General films, I said, please get me without any hesitations. Familiar with civilian. Many people don't know what the UN has done and why. We need the organization to solve many issues, like the MDGs. My duty to be in this project is how I can spread the ideas and missions of the UN to all over the world. And the film series of the Secretary Generals will be a great educational.
Every now and then one is obliged by the clock, so ladies and gentlemen, I try to bring this program to conclusion as soon as possible. But I will not do so unless I first call on my colleague and friend, Ambassador Chaudhry, to give us a few remarks. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to be here this afternoon. The kind of disaster that we face, particularly when I say we, I mean the developing countries. I come from Bangladesh, and my country is known for its annual share of disasters. And I think there is a tremendous merit and value in disaster preparedness for facing those kind of challenges. I think despite our poverty, despite our lack of development, Bangladesh has done wonderfully well in terms of disaster preparedness. We have been able to share our knowledge and experience with other countries in similar situations. And I believe that is something which needs to be kept in mind. And I would like to thank Mr. Ging for bringing up some of the partnership that we can build around that capacity development for disaster preparedness. Private sector, civil society organizations, I think those are very important. And here I pay tribute to the Friends of the United Nations, Asia Pacific, for taking this challenge. And I think they have addressed the issues, some of the concerns, in a very creative, imaginative way. And I believe that what Dr. Hinokida mentioned about using therapy dogs, taking care of the disaster-affected people through Friends Whistle, and many other things. And then Mr. Hayashi told us about the karaoke, Sing for Smile, and bringing up people who have been traumatized by disasters. And I think in that way, Friends of the United Nations, Asia Pacific can take the credit for bringing up some happening in our globe. So that is what I must say. And I would encourage the Friends of the United Nations, Asia Pacific, tribute to Dr. Noel Brown. Noel has given this idea of the whistle and has led the Friends of the United Nations for so many years. So hats off to you, and we wish you more activities, more support to the peoples of the world, and support to the United Nations. Thank you.